Ladies and gentlemen, TC2290, one of the classic 80s rack effects. Look at, there's an original unit right there, now available in a pedal. When we think of the 2290 in the top 10, if not the top 5 effects created, probably of all time, I mean the classic stuff that was invented in the 80s, H3000, SPX90, PCM41, PCM42, the PCM70, SDE3000, SDD3000, and the 2290. Absolutely, you know, those are the top greatest hits. But I will admit that I actually wasn't super well versed with the 2290. It's just not something that I'd ever gotten the opportunity to spend any time with. You know, somebody asked me the other day, they're like, did you have an H3000 back in the day and a 2290? And I was like, I had a Digitech DSP 128 because I was 17 years old, you know, and I just didn't have any money. And so I'd see these things, you know, in racks of, you know, the great guitarists of the day, and I would always kind of wonder, well, what exactly does that thing do with all the push buttons? You know, what are all the different parameters and how exactly does it sound? What makes it so great? So this has been fun. For the last few days, I've had the rack unit here as well as the pedal, and I've been able to A/B one-on-one kind of, you know, comparison and really get inside all the parameters and figure out what this thing does and why it's so legendary. Turns out it's not just about delay. Those out there that know this already, but it's just as much about modulation, like chorus, flanging, panning, as it is about delay and echo. And like a lot of the classic units from that era, it's just got kind of like a magic sound to it. You know, the converters or the preamp circuit that's in it or what it is, but you know, you plug them in, they just sound juicy. There's just this like character to these old classic effects units that were made really well back in the day. They just got a cool sound. And I'm happy to report that this thing, one-to-one, pretty much sounds exactly the same. I'm actually going to compare the two in a few minutes here. I'm going to show you a sound, that first sound that started off the song at the beginning of the video. I'm going to directly A/B that sound in the pedal with the sound in the rack unit. Spoiler alert, I don't think there's any difference. And in the pedal, of course, a whole bunch of modern features. I mean, there's 128 presets, full MIDI capability. They've even included a loop in it, which the original unit had, that allows you to insert other effects that will just be active on the delay trails. So if you want to put a, you know, analog chorus or a flanger or something like that on the delay trails only, and you can plug in an expression pedal and control any of the parameters on the pedal with that. There's also even an editor. Everything's got an editor these days, so you can plug it in and, you know, do preset mapping and stuff like that, all within a really nice computer editor if you like. I'll say this, I haven't even cracked a manual. Didn't need to. It looks maybe more complicated than it is, but just through pushing buttons and listening, using my ears, I was able to really get deep into it and figure out exactly what it does. And it is deep, it's super capable, but it's not complicated at the same time. It's fairly easy for me to figure out everything just by pushing buttons and trying things. So I can't show you every single sound that this does, but I did try and give you an overall view of most of kind of the greatest hits that it does. So, you know, there's some straight up echo in there that's modulated and filtered. There's some panning stuff going on, big wide chorusy sounds. Even just using it as a doubler a la John Petrucci, I guess he did that quite a bit, where he would split his guitar sound with one in order to get a big wide stereo effect, but without any kind of like obvious modulation. So I did that. Even like some tremolo like panning with modulation. For all the sounds in this video, I'm playing my PT15 amp from Surback here. I took the direct out of it and I'm running it into the pedal and then splitting out in stereo. Let's get to it. It's the TC2290P. So for the time delay part that started off the song at the beginning of the video, I tweaked the preset. I'm on preset number 44 here. And it's set for about 360 milliseconds. There's a real low depth but a fast rate going so that I've got some warble to the echoes. Nice sort of vibrato style warble going there. And the feedback's quite high. I've got it set on around 70. Lots of delay mix happening. And it's really a pleasure to play this sound. It's really, really fun. Now you can really hear when the chord faded at the end there, the out of phase character of the delay. Especially if you're listening on headphones and in stereo, you kind of need to be doing that to get the character. But, you know, I don't know that much about the way that the delay was originally made, but I believe it's a single delay line in the way that they're achieving the stereo when you're just got the one delay going, is by throwing one side probably out of phase a little bit with the other side. It throws the delays off from one another a little bit in the right and the left channel, and you get this really amazing sound. It's quite cool. You know, they're just set apart a little bit enough that they're sort of comb filtering a little bit and doing this really neat thing. When you turn on the pan on the delay sound, you lose that effect, and what's going to happen is it's going to be a straight up mono delay right up the middle. So check this out. So similar sound, I mean, you still get all the modulation and all that stuff, but right away, and once again, you got to be listening in stereo and probably on headphones to really hear this well. Compared to this. And that's when you're getting that sort of phase canceled effect. So anyway, just an observation, and I love the phase canceled kind of sound for this particular guitar part. Yeah, I mean, they sound basically exactly the same. I've got them set ever so slightly different. The feedback is 70 on the pedal. I've got it at 66 on the rack unit, the old school unit, just because that seemed to match up perfectly. But, I mean, it's so darn close. It's like they really nailed it. I don't hear any difference in the sound of the repeats, really, or in the character of the modulation. It's basically all there. So great job. So I just got a part in the song at the beginning of the video that's just kind of like big football chords. And it's just beautifully modulating. If I turn off the effect, the only other thing I got on here is some compression from my woodshed compressor. So you get all this movement. It's preset number 33 on the pedal. So I was like, what's going on with this sound? And I got inside it, and it's so interesting. What's actually happening is there's panning going on of the dry signal. There's also panning going on of the modulated signal. And when they kind of work against one another, it doesn't really sound like panning. It just sounds like this movement. So let me show you what I mean. If I actually go like this and turn off all of the affected signal, you can hear the dry signal panning around. Okay. If I now turn down the dry signal and keep the affected signal, you get this. So you can hear a slightly seasick modulated signal going on. And when you put them together, you just get not really an obvious panning effect, but more like phase meets chorus. Because however they're working together, they're panning and then the modulation, and it just sounds like movement. I don't know, it's just so cool. So the delay set for about 20 milliseconds, and then with some mod, some speed and depth mixed in and stuff, and just however it's working with both the direct and the mod signal set to pan, you get this, and it's just really great. So I was reading about how John Petrucci from Dream Theater used the 2290 a lot. And I guess what he used it for was to split his sound into stereo, because of course when you're the only guitar player in a band, you want to have a great big stereo wide sound, but maybe not super chorused or anything like that, just big, kind of like two guitars, like when you double in the studio and pan the tracks hard left and right. And so what he used to do is delay one side, I guess 7 milliseconds. And so one side would be dry, and then he'd have the 7 millisecond delay on the other side, and that would kind of give you like a faux doubling kind of effect. I did a part in the song at the beginning of the video, got the dry panned all the way left, and the echo effect panned all the way right with no feedback. Now, I'm not sure that that's the exact settings that he used or anything like that, but it definitely works. I checked out a Dream Theater live album from '93, and it kind of has that thing going on. It sounds a lot like that effect. Not my guitar tone in particular, but the effect of the spread is really similar. So that's the sound that I've got going. Now, if I turn off the delay, so you can hear I've split my sound with no modulation really. It's just a straight 7 millisecond split. If I wanted to add a little bit of mod to that, I can just turn on the modulation section here. Let's see what that sounds like. What's happening there is I've turned the rates quite low, but I've got the depth up to about 26, and you're hearing the obvious chorusing going on then. So it's really easy to add mod to the sound. One side is getting modulated and the other isn't. So the left side you're hearing, if you're listening in stereo, as I hope you are, one side is just straight up dry signal, and the other side is doing this with the modulation and kind of diving around. It sounds really cool. And that's with no modulation once again. So anyway, really effective way to get a faux stereo spread going. I mean, if you play with in-ears or something like that, and you want to get a great big sound in your in-ears, and also maybe in the house, if you're just one guitar player in a PA system, you get a great big wide guitar sound, but that's not obviously chorused or modulated or anything like that, unless you want it to be. Pretty cool. So here's another part from the song at the beginning of the video. This one I started with a factory preset, and then I altered a bunch of stuff like the feedback, the tone of the delay, and this has got kind of a panning effect going on. So it's like kind of like a tremolo panned delay. Here we go. So you can hear the delay shifting around in the stereo image if you're listening in stereo, and you can also hear the obvious tremolo type effect. Now the tremolo is coming from the dynamic stuff. So if I turn off this dyne switch right here, shut that off, now you're just going to hear the panning and the echo, but without the tremolo. Also a really cool sound, but I liked the tremolo, it sounded neat. If I turn off the reverse switch here in the dynamics section, now the tremolo gets even more aggressive. So that's a really cool sound too. So all kinds of options there, but I really dug this sound. And you know, like I say, this unit is as much about panning and the stereo image as it is about echo. So for the lead guitar part, I used a delay that does a little bit of panning. It's got a little bit of modulation on it, a little bit of light mod. So it's panning around a little bit. It's mod. It's got a little bit of filter on the tails for sure. Actually, a fair amount. I've got the high cut set down to 2K, and I've got the low cut set to 400 hertz because I love delays that tail out just in the mid range. It sounds vibey to me and kind of cool, imperfect. Let's check out the lead guitar part. Okay, here we go. Thanks so much for watching my video on the TC2290P faithful recreation and more of the original rack style unit. Amazing they were able to capture the sound and all the features and then add more features, cut the size down to what must be 1/10 the size. Just some incredible delay sounds as well as modulation like chorus and flange, super wide stereo stuff, otherworldly, beautiful panning, even tremolo effects. What's not to like? It's just awesome. Check it out further at the website that you see in the video description. You can click there. It'll take you to more info, more videos, and all that good stuff about the TC2290D. This was a fun one. Thanks so much, you guys, for watching. Please hit subscribe, hit the little bell beside the subscribe so you get an alert when I put out new videos. I'm Pete Thorn. Take care.